guys, I'm Steven, that's Robert, and we're here with the Senior Vice President of Communications, Steve Horvath, one of our favorite people. Steve, how is Worlds going this year? It's the first day, so what can you say so far?
No riots yet, so that's a good sign.
Yesterday you kind of started off things with something that Fantasy Flight has not done before, which was the state of the LCG, kind of a state of this game format in general.
Yeah.
And of course, you announced some things that people are going to be talking about and have been thinking about, primarily rotation and in the relaunch of Game of Thrones Second Edition. So let's start with just the idea of rotation in general and maybe speak to it in an abstract way. What are the principles behind rotation for you guys in the LCG format?
Well, the LCG format for us was, a lot of people say, kind of risky to begin with, right? It was a very controversial decision when we made it. But I think the years since have shown that it's a very strong format. Like we talked about last night, it's our fastest growing category. It's one of our biggest categories now. But it's just an outgrowth of, we're a company that's not afraid to take chances, right? Especially for something that we really believe in. These decisions aren't come too easily or lightly. We spend a lot of time debating them, deliberating, thinking about what's going to become of those, what could the outcome be, what are the pros, what are the cons, how could this affect us going forward. And through a lot of painful deliberating over the LCG format, that came to fore, and it's worked.
Yeah.
So now looking at it, LCGs have just really exploded. You guys saw that growth last night, that chart, right? Especially the last couple of years, it just skyrocketed. And then Conquest, which I got my nice playmat, had the biggest launch ever, bigger than Netrunner, bigger than any of the others. So that bodes pretty well for the future of that. But if we just leave these games, part of it is, like we said last night, we've learned a lot about publishing LCGs going forward, and we're still learning things today. And one of the things that have become painfully clear to us is we can't just let the card pools grow unchecked, because if we do, they're just going to end up collapsing under their own weight, and then they're going to rot, and the game will wither and die. And nobody wants that, right? I want these games, Conquest, Game of Thrones, Netrunner stuff, to still be exciting and vibrant 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I've got a 13-year-old that I've got to put through college, right? So we want to see these games grow and thrive. And I guess the other thing to remember about this stuff too is we're fans as well, right? A lot of people have jobs that they're not thrilled about or whatnot, or they're just doing as jobs. And they go, and at 6 o'clock they turn off the switch and go home, right? That's not how we are, right? We live this stuff. We're really passionate about it. And we put a lot of time and effort into thinking about what's the next best step for this. This is a real category. We're completely committed to it. We see a big future for it. How can we make sure that it's as strong or stronger 5 years, 10 years from now as it is today? And we think rotation is the best way for that. That was a really long answer.
Hey, that's a great answer.
It was thorough.
This is certainly a hot topic, and it kind of speaks to the decision on Thrones, right? So It was the one that really, I feel like, was kind of the straw, or even the elephant in the room almost, where it's like, this is the game where, somebody comes into a store even like ours, and we pitch them on Thrones, and it's like, hey, this is an awesome game. The mechanics are super cool. You do these challenges, the characters you love. And then the last thing we really want to tell you is that there's a back catalog of 11 cycles that you may have to eventually buy all of them to be competitive. So whenever you're approaching something like the Game of Thrones Second Edition, right, you're obviously prepared for those people who are going to say, oh my gosh, all of these cards that I invested in, all these cards that I bought are now worthless. What would you say to those people to address those kinds of concerns?
Well, I have plenty of things to say about that. First of all, when I hear somebody say, oh, now all these cards are worthless, well, you've been playing with them for a long time, right?
Yeah.
We don't have LCG card police. We're not going to come out and take them all away from you. You can still enjoy them if you want to, however you want to. Even after the second edition comes out and we're years into that, people can still play this on the side and have fun with it. Nobody's taking that away from you. And you've had years to play with these cards. And I'm not trying to be flippant by that, because I understand that it is People are really emotionally invested, financially invested in this. But we want to make sure that investment is going to pay, is still going to be enjoyable as an experience years and years down the road. If we don't do something with this game, it's going to wither and die. It will. I know it's great right now, and it's a great game, but the complexity and the extra cards, it's just going to collapse. And then none of us are going to have any fun, right? I mean, it would be easy, the short-sighted, easy business decision would be to do nothing at all. Don't rock the boat because, man, things are going really good right now. And let's just keep, it's having its best year ever this year. So a short-sighted business decision would be, well, we don't want to risk that, so let's just keep that going. But we're not a short-sighted company, right? We're looking at this for the long term. And so to make sure that this game is healthy 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 12 years from now, we want to give it the best chance. And we think the best chance of that happening is to have a fresh start. As Michael, I think, said really well last night, rotation won't fix all of the issues. And it would still feel like to properly rotate thrones, we would have to get rid of half the card pool, right? To bring it down to a more manageable size. But that would have nothing to do with the legacy complexity that we talked about, the timing issues, everybody's favorite topic of Moribund. All of those things would still be existing. It would just be less cards, right? Yeah. But it doesn't fix the core experience. What a lot of people forget about this is Game of Thrones was the first LCG, and it made a very quick transition. It was not that core set was not designed as an LCG. It was part of the legacy of the CCG being shifted over to help the game survive and go on to the next stage, right? So that's not the ideal fit for that. So we want to take everything that we've learned over the past 12 years of doing card games and the past 7 years of LCGs and apply it to the original and bring that in line and make it as awesome as it can possibly be.
Yeah. Nice. Can you speak to a little bit about the process, thought-wise and structurally, in terms of deciding on the 5 to 7 cycle template that you're going to apply to all the LCGs?
Oh, I can speak to a lot of things.
All right.
So looking at it, it comes down to basically what do we think is going to be the most vibrant, exciting card pool that will make the game the most enjoyable for players and still make sure that the cards that come out have a really good lifespan. So in this 5 to 7 cycle lifespan, cards are going to be in the standard environment 3 or 4 years. So you're going to get a ton of use out of them, right? They're going to be around for a very long time. And then they will go ahead and cycle out as new stuff comes in. So it was really kind of simple in that regard. I mean, we looked at it a long time, but the answer was really kind of simple and obvious as we went through it, is what is the best time horizon that's going to give people great enjoyment out of the cards and still keep the card pool what we think is its most vibrant and exciting, right? One of the things, actually, I was just talking to Eric Lang before we came over, and I think you guys are going to talk with him later, but I'm going to steal one of his points. But I'm going to give him credit for it. No, it's all right. I told him I was going to do that, so he's over there shaking his fist at me, I'm sure. He talked about something very interesting that we didn't mention last night is the context of cards from the fact that rotation gives every card in your collection kind of second life in a way. Because no individual card in an LCG or a TCG or anything like that exists in a vacuum, right? And they're all judged and valued in the context of all the cards around them. So one of the interesting things about rotation is not only about as new cards enter the card pool, it changes the value proposition of every card that's there. But when a set of cards leaves the card pool, it recalibrates the value of every card that's there. So it kind of gives new life to every card every time that happens. I thought that was a very interesting point that he made.
Yeah. The one, I guess, final thing that I think about when it comes to rotation, and particularly with the Thrones reboot, right, is, as you said, you're a company that's taking chances, willing to take those kinds of chances. When you look at how you guys kind of got into this sphere, it was with this big board game that had a lot of pieces and was more expensive than a lot of people thought was reasonable. You launch an LCG format, which is a card game form that has not been seen before and took a chance
there
on
was
it.
a firestorm when that happened.
Right, exactly.
There was a real firestorm.
So now you're relaunching Thrones and willing to take kind of those risks. What is it like? When I look at that, I kind of look on the other side of it, where you're essentially taking 12 cycles of chapter packs off your product line. I mean, off the market over time. So how is that kind of decision? How is that for you guys to decide we're going to literally take some of our products off the market to take a chance on this new idea? Is that obviously a difficult decision for you, but how big of a factor was that?
Oh, it's something that we looked at very hard. I mean, there was a lot of discussions internally about this, and some of them were quite heated, to be honest, right? Until we could all see that this was the best path forward. But absolutely, I mean, that's a lot of SKUs to take off, SKUs that are selling very, very well. But again, that gets back to being short-sighted as well as long-sighted, right? I mean, we're looking at the long term, and yes, sales on this game are great. It's the best year that it's ever had. And we could just, if we wanted to be short-sighted and say, well, we just want to keep that going, we could do that. But that's not what's best for the game. And I understand that this is a very emotional decision for players. It's an emotional decision for us, too. Because we're fans, because it was our first one, people are very invested in this game internally as well as externally. But we want the game to continue to thrive. I mean, I know I'm just repeating myself, but that's really what it comes down to. It's very simple. The whole thing is a complex issue, but it really boils down to something very simple. What's best for the game for the long term? How are we going to make sure that this game is even bigger 5 years from now and 10 years from now, and people can still enjoy a vibrant card environment? And this is the best way to do it. It really is.
Would you say that kind of thing is why you like Conquest so much? That long-term strategic thinking?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, like that a lot of people don't get to see from Fantasy Flight that we get to experience with the Gen Cons and the Worlds is those random conversations where you'll walk up and say, yeah, I was playing this Conquest game the other day at lunch and this thing happened and that thing happened. And what is it like to be in a company that is so engaged with its own products and to kind of unveil that side of Fantasy Flight that is a bunch of people making these products but then playing with them almost on it seems like a daily basis and enjoying them. So is that a kind of mandated part of the company, or is that just kind of how it works around here?
No, I mean, I think that's the foundational statement of what the company's built on. What is it like? It's the best thing ever. That's what it's like, right? I mean, you work more than you do anything else in your whole life. You guys know that, right? So you should really love what you do. Right?
Seems reasonable.
Right? I have friends that don't enjoy their jobs, and I ask them all the time, like, how do you do it? They're really, right? I'm not being facetious at all. I know I like to joke around as we're talking and stuff, but how do you do that? How do you,
Yeah.
I got up at 3 a.m. to catch a plane yesterday to get back out here and didn't get to bed till I don't know what time it was. And then I was up this morning, got my kid off to school, and came out here to do it again because I love it. That's why if we were making toothpaste, I don't know, I would die, right? I don't get it. So, I mean, what's really exciting about it, too, is it's a company of everybody that's got that much passion and excitement, right? We really care. Yeah, we're playing lunch games all the time. Here's my cool box of Conquest goodness right here. See? There's all my tokens and stuff.
Nice.
Here's my cards. You see that?
Well organized.
Yeah.
Man,
nice.
this speaks a lot.
Look at those warlords and those nice.
This is the deck that crushed Caleb Grace a couple weeks ago, just so everybody knows. Caleb.
I'm glad you took it to Caleb.
Yeah, that's right. So we heard that one went pretty poorly for Caleb.
Yeah, we won't talk about the game against John Schaefer though. Recently, that didn't go quite so well. Right? No. So I mean, I get. What was your question?
I think you answered it just fine there.
Yeah. Let's transition a little bit and talk about your probably bread and butter job occupation, the organized play stuff.
Okay.
How's that going? We had some questions last night during the LCG announcement about the future of that, changes you're going to make.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're willing to talk about in terms of specifics or even generalities about how that continues to evolve and bring people into the organized play experience?
Well, last year for Worlds, we had 409 total attendees. This year, we had over 530 pre-registers, and we're already over 600.
Wow.
So that's pretty positive.
Yeah.
You know, I made the joke last night, we must be doing something right to get so many people to come to Minnesota in November. Just because I love the cold. I know some people haven't been enlightened yet. And, it's going very well. I mean, the team is working hard. I think they put in a lot of long hours. They're really passionate about what they do. You know, I was talking to Stuart at 7:30 this morning before the doors opened. I said, you know, how are you guys doing? And he's like, we're pumped. We're excited. We can't wait. This is a highlight. I mean, they're like genuinely excited to dive into this, and they are working crazy hours.
They are.
And have you seen them at Gen Con? They're doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then day in and day out, you know, we have a weekly team meeting that we go over all the stuff that we're doing. We talk about the new programs. We talk about where each season is at. I mean, they've got 2015 already planned out.
Wow.
You know, they've just been working tirelessly for that. We've already got the assets for prizes designed through regionals next year.
Wow.
Nice.
So, and that's just from all of that work that they're doing, right? And so it's going very well. Tournaments are up. Winter kits, maybe I have to double check the final numbers. Might be the biggest season we've ever done.
Great.
Warhammer Conquest, especially. I'm not calling this out because I'm playing it so much right now, but had the incredible numbers, even more incredible for its first season, that orders were due before the game shipped. And it's still the fourth biggest of all of the games already, I think, something like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So that was pretty astounding to me. So
Well, it seems like you guys have really you've established this foundation, which has come a very long way since we first started getting into the LCG format, where now we can expect.
Early on was rough. That was
Right.
really rough. That was
And
really
It
rough.
seems like you got it pretty well streamlined now. You've got the card, the alt art cards,
Yeah.
the playmats coming out for regionals, for worlds, for nationals, and the winter
It's gone
kits.
over pretty well. We should have just gone to that. Huh?
So,
Man.
so you've gotten this foundation laid. Is it now? Are you guys pursuing ways to enhance and improve that, or?
Yeah,
what's the plan
last night I announced a couple big programs I think going forward. We're just beginning work on developing new tournament software that we're designing in-house that is going to be fantastic because the tech guys are amazing. The requirements document is in their hands. They're starting to look over all of the stuff and start on it. I don't know exactly when it's going to be done, but sometime early next year. But we're not going to release it until it's right, just like everything else we do, right? Once we're really, really excited about it and think it's where it needs to be, we'll roll it out to everybody. The other thing that I talked about last night for the first time is the judge program. We know we need one, and that's one of the next big steps. As these events get bigger and bigger and bigger, we need to have a real program, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna roll out a pilot program early in the year. We're gonna have official announcement about a couple of weeks. It's gonna be very small, so people shouldn't freak out about that. It's just that we want to. Like I said, it's a pilot program. It's almost like a beta test for it. So we want to only do it with a very small group of people and make sure that we know what we're doing, really test the waters with it. Then we'll have a second round where we grow that out a little bit more in the spring. And then by the fall of next year, maybe early winter, it should be able to roll out everywhere.
Full judge program.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Right. So.
And that includes, I assume, like floor rules and those
Yeah,
kinds of things.
all
how
of
to
that
handle
stuff.
them.
All that stuff's in the works. We're actually a lot farther along on the floor rules. Those will be out early next year.
Nice.
We know we need those too. It's
Nice.
just it's just a bandwidth issue, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's just there's so much that needs to be done for so many games. I think that's something that people forget about is we have so many different games that all need to have these things. Right? And that's not an excuse, it's just the reality of it. And we want all of the games to have all of the things, like the floor rules and the judge program and the tournament software, right? So this tournament software will accommodate all of our games.
Excellent.
Right? And so will the judge program. We're going to start the judge program out with X-Wing and Android Netrunner because those are our two biggest games. And so we want to test the waters with that. And then we'll roll it out through everything.
Nice.
You fielded some questions last night as well about alternate formats within these kind of competitive spheres, particularly with draft being potentially something that'll crop up. Is there any thought process as well to allow for other formats beyond that? You also took a question about whether there would be a legacy format for Game of Thrones.
Right.
You ruled out first edition, but could we see potentially with second or rotated out cards for any of the games, those formats becoming legacy?
Potentially. And again, that's something that people can run events for themselves whenever they want to, right? There's not going to be anything against regular weekly or monthly tournaments and leagues and stuff using a legacy format. But for the big premier events like, regionals, national, worlds, right now there isn't any kind of plan for that.
Cool.
As I said earlier, we're bursting at the seams now, working that out. I guess that's one scoop I can give you today is that for next year's Gen Con, we're adding a day.
Awesome.
So Wednesday will also be an official day. So
Nice.
it'll be 5 days of gaming
So
goodness.
5-day Worlds, huh?
5-day Worlds, yeah.
Wow.
Jeez.
Well, Steve, we really appreciate your time. I think obviously Worlds is going on. This is a big deal for you. You probably don't want to sit behind your desk and talk to us all day. So we'll let you get back to it.
No, don't speak for him.
Sounds kind of appealing. I don't know.
It is a lot more quiet in here, I gotta say. But just to finish things off, is there anything that in particular you're just really excited about right now? I'm sure there's plenty of things, but most excited about that you're just ready to go on?
I'm dying to get my hands on that first battle pack for Conquest.
Oh my goodness.
I'm also super excited about Imperial Assault.
Yeah.
The dual nature of that game. We have some very exciting plans for organized play. We're putting the final touches on it, and it's really going to be cool.
All right,
Awesome.
Steve. Thank you so much, man. We
Sure.
appreciate your time.
Anytime.